Real Talk disclaimer. The information provided by the host on this platform is for education and awareness purposes only. All information provided on this platform is provided in good faith. We make no representation or warranty of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, validity, and reliability of information shared by the host or show guests. The views and opinions of guests on the show do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the host of Real Talk. Under no circumstances do the host, show guests, sponsors, or affiliates assume responsibility for the actions of any viewer.
Our greatest glory is rising when we fall. So don't be discouraged, don't you be appalled. It's okay if you fall and maybe even lose your spark. Just make sure in the end you rise from the dark. It's time to rise up, time to work, and time to chase your dreams. The Lord has the final say, so your soul is redeemed. This message is to help you with your self-esteem, as faith will take you places that we have never seen.
Welcome to Real Talk. We're so glad to have all of you to join us here on this special edition of Real Talk. We'll be going to Bishop T. She is right now currently at the venue. That's right. She's at the venue, and she's going to be there for a special town hall meeting that is taking place. Special town hall meeting that is taking place. Trying to get make sure everything's adjusted well. Yeah, special town hall meeting that is taking place right here in Gaston, Alabama. Let me share with you in just a few minutes of what that is all about. But first, let me speak to all of our good friends that is on Real Talk with us on tonight. We have Dana J. What's up, Dana J? Glad to have you on, man. Miss Ruby Johnson, God bless you. Glad to have you on. Glad to have Miss Katrina Davis on. We want you to like and share. Like and share, okay? Miss Mary Smitherman, hello, how are you doing on today? Like and share. There's several ways you can join us here. We're on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube. And of course, we have a Twitter page. Okay, today we are doing something special. We're here a little earlier on today. Charles Hawkins, what's going on? There's a town hall meeting taking place. It's supposed to start at 5 o'clock, and it's at the venue. That's right. It's at the venue. And what is taking place there is that Senator Andrew Jones is actually going to be at this town hall meeting. He's going to be speaking concerning the occupational tax that is here in Gaston, Alabama. Now, you do have the mayor, council, board members of the school board, several people that would be in the be there at the town hall meeting, and I'm sure that they will allow questions to be asked. We're going to go there shortly, just give you just an idea of what things are set up now. So we're going to soon as they get ready to get started, we'll turn it over to them. But we're glad to be able to bring this to you, those that are not able to get out to the town hall meeting. We are going to remote it in, okay? I'm seeing some greenery here on me. Trying to fix that up. I pray all of you have had a great day. Pray all of you had a great day. Listen, keep the Woods family, Sister Woods, and the First Baptist Church of Alabama City in your prayers. Pastor John Woods Sr. Passed on this morning. And so, of course, Gaston is in mourning. The church is in mourning, and we just ask for your prayers for that family. Okay, he was a pioneer here in Gaston, Alabama. So let's keep that family lifted up in prayer, okay? Thank you there. Hello, Miss Jackie Munn. Glad to see you. As soon as they get started, they should be getting where they say they'll start at 5 o'clock. That's why we're here, to make sure that we can bring it to you, those that could not make it to the venue, those that could not make it to the venue. This occupational tax that Senator Andrew Jones is proposing to take away. It appeared that some of the occupational tax, the funds, fund quite a bit of things in our city, and we're going to get an opportunity to hear those things in just a few. Okay. Hello, Mr. Wilson. Glad to have you on. Elder Parker, glad to have you on. Glad to have all of you on. My good brother Van Smith, hello, man. Glad to have you on. Glad to have all of you to join us on tonight. I think they're trying to get everything started here. Let's see.
If you get a chance, make sure you silence your phones. And there you go. Pretty much you have to the phone. I think so. That's great. But anyway, so to get the program started tonight, we want to introduce our newly elected mayor, Craig Ford.
Okay, thank you all for coming. We're going to start out. Reverend Granger, will you start us out in a word of prayer, please? Are you in here? Well, they were supposed to be. Okay. I see another pastor. You're up.
Thank you that you brought us together. Lord, we ask that you bring us together with peace, love, and happiness. Lord, we ask that this outcome be your outcome. Within the mighty name of Jesus, we pray.
Amen. That might not be a good sign when the preacher doesn't show up. All right, so hey, I want to welcome y'all. Thank you for coming out. I want to tell you how we got here, and I want to recognize some special guests first. We won't applaud. We just want everybody to know the elected officials that are here. I know our mayors are here. Mayor Larry Means, Mayor Joe Taylor, Rainbow City, Larry Means Italian, Mayor Dana Snyder, Southside, Mayor Hare could not be here from Glencoe. We'll start down here, Representative Gidley, Representative Lipscomb, Representative Butler, Councilman Chris Robinson, President of our council, Kent Back, Councilwoman Dixie Minatra, Councilwoman Bishop Latham, who's my favorite. I'm sorry. Yeah. Is anybody else here? County Commissioner President Craig Enzer, and who else? Y'all stand up. Let's just do that before we go. Everybody's elected, raise your hand. How about that? Bob Cross, Commissioner Rand. Everybody's here. Okay, so this is important to all of us. I want to tell you first, we're going to go over the speakers real quick. We're going to try to keep this short and sweet and so we can ask questions. We've asked Senator Andrews to speak first after me. Brett Johnson, who's an adjunct instructor, Mayor's Chief of Staff. Jennifer Wethington, From Parks and Rec, Representative Rod Scott, who I served 16 years with in the legislature, and he is now working with the city of Gaston. Has a couple of Ivy League degrees, so he knows more than me. Ruth Moffitt, our Gaston DEI director. David Hooks, our IDA director. Will Reed, our Gaston Fire Chief. Lamar Jaggers, Gaston Police Chief. Sergeant Jacob Hitchkin, Gaston Police Department. Tina King, Gaston Director of City Services. Heath Williamson, our engineer. Jody Smith, who we're happy to have. He is a bond attorney. Is that what you are? Yeah. I know Jody would agree. This is Nancy and Joe Smith's son, if you didn't know that. We're lucky to have him back in Gaston. He's from Maynard and Cooper out of Birmingham, but he does just about all bond closings for all the cities in the state of Alabama. So he'll tell us the repercussions of this. Kay Moore with DGI, our comments from our Etowah County mayors, comments from Etowah County Commission, and then we'll ask our state House members to speak. And then I'll close it, and then we'll have questions and answers that you have written, right, John? John's still with us? We already laid him off. John, you got the questions they're doing? Okay. And then we'll have a closing. So I want to tell you real quick just what this means to us, and we'll get more in detail with it real quick after the speakers speak. I took office November 7th, 2022, about 100 days ago. First new mayor in Gaston for 16 years. We had to live by a budget that was previously passed by the previous council and administration, and it's not a bad budget. It's a good budget. The previous administration didn't spend a lot of money, so that could be good or bad. It's good for us, bad for them. So we were lucky to be able to take over a good budget for the city of Gaston. Gaston's on the verge of a lot of growth. We're working on 16 projects as we speak. We'll let Heath go to those. This is not a stress ball, it's a visual for something later. But Heath can talk about our projects. David Hooks is going to talk about our IDA prospects that we have currently. Not to say anything about campaigns, but I campaigned when I ran for office not to do away with occupational tax. My opponent campaigned to do away with occupational tax. I thought that was a major issue in the campaign because we had to contact our consultants, and I basically told our consultants, I think that's a troublesome issue for me to try to overcome, to explain. So the end result was we got 62% of the vote to 38%. I feel that was a referendum for the city of Gaston of the occupational tax in some form or fashion. I explained it, and I told my wife, I said, I would hate to be mayor if you had to do away with occupational tax in Gaston and run that budget the way it is. So I want to tell you real quick what our budget is. I've been told you can't find your budget. It's all online. Every city's budget is online. Am I correct? If not, you are welcome to come to our city. We will hand you a budget. We get audited every year. We've been audited excellent every year, Lisa. Am I correct? So as long as you've been there, how long have you been there? 20 years. So we're going through an audit right now. She will present to the budget April 1st, and then we'll be able to hopefully get another good audit. But if you want a copy of our budget, you're welcome to see it. We have a $75 million budget. $52 million is dedicated to payroll. You may say that's high. Well, it is high because we're having to pay for everyone that has retired prior to working for the city of Gaston. Back in the day, the city, whoever it was, Steve Means or Sherman or David Nolan, agreed to let the city employees come under the RSA retirement system. I think it's a great opportunity for city employees. We don't pay a lot in Gaston. I'll just tell you the truth. Our employees work and do a great job for not a lot of money, but they do get good health insurance and they do get good retirement. But we have to pay for that on the back end. So that's built into that payroll. If you take away $15 million, what Senator Jones wants to do, then we would be at $60 million, and we have $52 million already dedicated towards payroll. That leaves us $8 million to run a budget. That's impossible. We cannot run a city for $8 million. So I got a little business sense along with some of the other mayors, and I'll let Mayor Taylor talk because his bank account's bigger than mine, and I'll agree to that. But he's a businessman too, and so is Mayor Snyder. But y'all, let me tell you something. I have seen firsthand in the first 100 days what it takes to run a city. It's not us, it's the employees. But what they have, we just went back to the TV interview in the back of the venue. The building's leaking. It's a 5-year-old building. That happens. We call a contractor while it's back there. We got a gutter system issue. There's $250,000 right there in repairs that needs to be done to this building. but the building's making money. For the first time this will be our second year, this building made almost $1.1 million. The Twin Bridges Golf Course made $1.2 million last year for the first time. So things are looking up in Gadsden, but it takes money to run a city. We have 26 cities in the state of Alabama with an occupational license fee or occupational tax. We're not trying to hide our verbiage under occupational license fee, but that's what it's called in the Constitution. We are one of 5 cities in Etowah County that has the OLF. It is our OLF and all the other cities in Gadsden and Etowah County are 2%. It was passed in 1962 and it has been upheld in the state Supreme Court. Attala, Glencoe, Southside, Rainbow City. The OLF is 30% of our general fund budget. The OLF generates $15 million annually for the city of Gadsden. It provides police, fire, road, bridges, parks and rec, and sanitation, etc. The state legislature begins their session March 7th, representatives, and ends, they hope, as early as possible. Been there and done that for 18 years, but you have 30 days, 30 legislative days within a 105-day calendar to get those days in. Trust me, I feel their pain. It's a lot of work. They drive down there on Tuesday, drive home on Thursday. Sometimes they go earlier. I know Mac used to, I don't know how he did it. He used to go down, meet, and come home at night and go back the next morning. So he would do that so he could be with his family. But it takes a lot out on them. This is not something that we want to ask them, hey, go down there and fight for us to keep this. Well, that's not what we're in this. We want to say, hey, I want to meet with y'all with the governor and the highway director about redirecting traffic on Highway 411. Let's all go together about a feel-good project, and let's try to get your tax dollars back home. So that's what we want to work with our delegation for, and then we want to cover them back home. When I was a legislator and Senator Larry Means was a senator, we would never thought of trying to take revenue from a municipality. Our goal was to try to secure revenue, your tax dollars, to bring back home, to give your tax dollars back to the community. So that's our state legislative session that starts, and this is when the bill's going to be processed. We met with our senator the other day. Some people said you hadn't met with them. That's not true. All 5 mayors sat in a room at the city of Gadsden City Hall, and we met, and we tried to work out a deal. It ended in just zero. It didn't go anywhere. But he did tell us this, and if he's here, he's up after me. He said he will bring every bill possible that he can to try to make this happen. We tried to relay to him, I did personally, you're dealing with people's lives. This isn't Candyland. We're dealing with people's livelihoods. I've had police officers call me, ask me, should I quit? Should I resign, go look for another city? No, we have done everything we can do to try to get our retention up, recruitment videos, some pay increases, everything with the fire department. The last thing we want to do now is lose our firemen that we've gone out and hired and our policemen that we've gone out and hired. The rest of the speakers will explain that what those cuts will mean for the residents and the visitors working together. What I want you to remember is all 5 cities will be forced to make the same cuts. Southside will have their own cuts. Rainbow City will have their own cuts. So will Glencoe and Attala. This isn't just about Gadsden. If I live in Gadsden and I work in Mayor Taylor's city, I pay 2% occupational tax to Mayor Taylor. If Mayor Taylor lives in Rainbow City, works in Gadsden as he did for 20 plus years as a firefighter, he pays 2% occupational tax to Gadsden. The city of Gadsden triples in population from 8 to 5. So put that in your, I want you to remember that. Our city triples in population from 8 to 5. So we had to have police protection, fire protection for all these residents coming in, as Lone also does these other cities. I would imagine Mayor Snyder's city also increases in population due to Ohatchee and everybody coming in from her way and working in her city. So I want to tell you this, and I'm going to sit down and turn over to Brett. This is our tax structure. Our tax structure is made up of the the 5th lowest ad valorem tax in the state of Alabama, 2% occupational tax, and a 10% sales tax. This is our egg or our ball. Mountain Brook has one of the highest ad valorem taxes in the state of Alabama, 0% occupational fees, and a 10% sales tax. That's the way they run their government. We run our government with our tax structure, how I just explained. Mayor Taylor, Mayor Snyder, Mayor Means can explain theirs. But this is how we run our government. For goodness sakes, don't come in and tell us 100 days in the office that we have a $75 million budget and you're going to take $15 million away from us. Greg Ford, Joe Taylor, David Snyder, Larry Means, we'll go to the house, we'll be okay. It's these guys in blue and these firemen that it's going to hurt, and it's going to cost them their jobs, and it's their livelihoods, their families, and our city employees. So with that being said, I'm not going to say much more. I'll turn it over to Brett Johnson, who's my chief of staff. Thank you. I'll leave this ball for y'all.
Thanks, sir. Actually, on the agenda for our speakers, we have Senator Jones. If he's here, we didn't know if he'd come or not. Just wanted to give that opportunity for 2 minutes at the podium. Okay. So I'm Brett Johnson, Mayor Ford's chief of staff. As he said, I also am an adjunct instructor at the college level. I teach Introduction to American Government, the only class that I teach. So the fundamentals of our United States system of government. So one thing I want to talk about today, there's another thing, two more things I want to tell you about myself. One is I am not a fan of taxes. In fact, I serve on the Etowah County Republican Executive Committee because I am not a fan of taxes. I also realize that I want police protection, fire protection, sanitation, and all the services that come with living in a municipality. To put that out there up front. So some basics about government. Everyone knows there's 3 branches of government, right? Legislative, judicial, executive. A lot of conversation doesn't get down to the next level, which is the 3 levels of government. That's because we're blessed to live in what we call a federalist system. That means that the federal government has its lane, the state government has its lane, and local governments have their lane. So generally, national government's designed to create laws and rules that apply across the nation, to defend our nation, to promote welfare. Down to the state, they've left some rights for public education, to take care of business in that state based on that state's needs. And then our state constitution allows for municipalities, cities, and counties who have the authority in their jurisdiction to do what the people in that community want them to do in that community based on their needs. That's how our system of government is structured. This bill, if passed, essentially does the reverse of what that federal system government is designed to do. It takes power from the level of government closest to the people, the cities and the counties, and gives it to the state and says, we're going to make those decisions for you, not you, your mayor, and your council that live in your community and work with you and you see every day. So the next slide I'm going to talk to you about is the tax structure for other cities. A lot of people ask the question because, as Mayor Ford pointed out, we have an occupational tax in Gadsden. Not every city in the state of the nation does. What other ways do cities fund their municipal operations? Right here, the top sources of revenue for the largest 22 cities in the state of Alabama. Sales tax, that's what you all know about sales tax. Property taxes, taxes on your homes for the property value that's assessed. Fees, fines, and other, that's court fines, use fees, and there's a lot of stuff in that. Intergovernmental, which is effectively grants from the federal and state government, or shared revenue with other entities like counties. Business licenses, that's the barrier to entry as a business owner of operating a business every year in that community. You pay your business license fee. And then occupational taxes. On the left side of that screen is the average amount that cities in the state of Alabama depend on each source of revenue. On the right side of that screen, and this is a 2014 study, it may have tweaked just a little bit, is how the city of Gadsden in 2014 got its revenue. So because we have an occupational tax of 2%, we're able to keep property taxes in Etowah County, Gadsden, Southside, all those cities are in the same boat, the lowest in the state of Alabama. So it's very important to make that note. So on the next slide, as we talk about property taxes, Senator Jones has publicly in a recent news article stated that he thinks that could help as an option to replace lost occupational revenue. This is from the same study. It shows the ad valorem, which is property tax rates for these largest 22 cities in the state of Alabama. You can see that Gadsden is among the lowest, which I've just mentioned to you. What it doesn't show you, it shows we collect 15 mills, which is how they describe property tax rates. The city of Gadsden actually only keeps 9 mills of that. The other 6 mills goes to Gadsden City Schools. So we're actually would put us down there at the bottom 3 or 4 if you're talking about what the city of Gadsden keeps for operations. To replace $15 million a year in revenue, we would have to go to 54 mills in property tax. As Mayor Ford mentioned, that would be the highest in the state of Alabama. And let me tell you right now, we don't have property values like Mountain Brook and Vestavia Hills. That would hurt. And I know y'all know that because I can see it on your faces. So the next thing I want to point to is the sheet that was in your chair when you got here, for those of you who have chairs. Sorry for those of you who are standing, but we have some extras in the back we can give you at the end. Breaking down, what does it really mean to me as an individual, as an average person, if the occupational tax is removed in gas? So the bill that was proposed last year by Senator Jones actually repealed the occupational tax over a 20-year period by 0.01% each year. So that would mean if the bill were passed today, next year, your occupational tax rate would be 1.9%. The year after that, your occupational tax rate would be 1.8%. The year after that, 1.7%, and it goes on and on and on for 20 years. Let me ask a question. Those of you who are in the room, how many of you are retired? Please raise your hand. Okay, how many of you plan to retire in the next 5 years? All right, keep your hand up. How many of you plan to retire in the next 10 years? How many of you plan to retire in the next 15? How many plan to retire in the next 20 years? Okay. So almost everybody in this room would be paying occupational tax for the remainder of your career under the proposed bill that Senator Jones had last year. I just wanted that to sink in. You can read that and it explains the actual cost. The average is about $10 a week for the average household in Gadsden. And then we'll talk about the additional costs that will happen because of the decline in city revenue in Etowah County. So next up, I want to introduce to you, Mayor Ford, talk about Representative Ron Scott. Before he gets up here, I got to tell you his credentials. He's the brain on our team. He is an economist. He has a degree from Yale and a degree from Dartmouth. His degree was in econometrics. How many of you know what that means? But I just want him to come up and talk to you for a little bit from his perspective of the impact of this legislation.
I want to thank you all for allowing me to be here. I feel very welcome here. Thank the mayor for inviting me here to work with him. Worked together for 16 years. There's really no need for me to go over the numbers in the details. What we're talking about is real common sense. We want a better gas for the next generation, the generation after them, and continue that process. Because guess what? The Northeast is open for Alabama. And I think Gaston is primed to take over the Northeast. Communications with Georgia, Tennessee, and over to Huntsville. What's important happened in my life. My mother and father. My father worked for United States Steel. My mother was a beautician. My father worked 3 jobs. And guess how many children? It was a total of 10 of us. Wow. So that means that they understood that they had to sacrifice today for us to have a better life in the future. I can't remember the time my father went to a store to buy some clothes. I mean, I just can't. And I used to go out with him all the time. He worked for US Steel. He really didn't need to dress. All he needed to do was to go up to US Steel, clean the key box. So that's an example in my life. So really, what it is they, how should I say, they spent pennies today so that we could have a better future. And a simple concept, IRA, how many people have an IRA? How many people are in a retirement plan? They save pennies today so that you could have a better future when you in other words, they were not penny wise. but they were kind of interested and invested in our children. So they were not short-term thinkers. They were long-term thinkers. And that's where we are at Gadsden. We have to be long-term thinkers. Because guess what? We're on the verge of a new economy. Now, some of us are old enough to remember the TV company. It was black and white when I came in. And then maybe a few who were old enough to remember the radio. Now we have the internet. There's so many ways of communicating now on someone's smartphone. But you even have Zoom. You don't have to go to meetings. So our lives can be very different if we plan for our future and the future of our children. So all I want to say is, I'm glad to be here in Gadsden, and I think this is the right environment of people so that we can plan for a marvelous future for our children. So, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jen Weddington, and I am the Director of Gadsden Parks and Recreation Department. I have been working here for almost 7 years. Park and Recreation has already seen growth in our youth athletic programs, such as our youth basketball that we just completed with 128 teams. The Gadsden Sports Park has seen Phase 1 be completed, with Phase 2 finishing by the end of this month and Phase 3 starting. This is over a $20 million investment. This mayor has seen the needs of the upgrades of Nokalula Falls Park and Campground and has a team working right now to do a full revamp instead of piecing it together by using our funds that we gather from Christmas at the Falls. If the occupational license fee revenue is removed, and we are expected to cut 30% of the Parks and Recreation budget, this will be a reduction of over $2 million for quality of life programs, events, and facilities. The direct effect will be a cut of over 120 part-time and seasonal employees. We'll have to close Mitchell, Raymond Hill, Thompson, and Walnut Park community centers. So there will be no after-school program, there will be no summer camps, and there will be no open gyms at these locations. We'll also have to cut programs such as, but not limited to, our senior program, our therapeutic recreation, our youth baseball, flag football, track and field, adult softball, basketball, and football, our farmers market, mistletoe market, the Christmas tree lighting, and the Christmas parade. We'll have to close the sports complex on Megan Boulevard. This includes 7 baseball and softball fields, 12 tennis courts, a multi-purpose field, a walking track, and a skate park. This will also affect our partnership with Gadsden State Community College when they're trying to rebuild their baseball program and their tennis. At the new Gadsden Sports Complex behind Gadsden State Community College, we'll only be able to open it for paid weekend tournaments. We'll have to close our splash pad at the boardwalk. We'll have to reduce our hours at Coosa Landing store. We'll have to cut city landscaping, which includes James Martin Wildlife Sanctuary and Dog Park, Broad and Chestnut Streets, Highway 411, Megan Boulevard medians, I-59 and I-759 interchanges, Tuscaloosa Avenue, Citizen Monument, Library, City Hall, Community Centers, Marina Park and Pond, and areas around the boardwalk at Chili and Splash Pad, our police station, fire stations, and more than 30 passive parks and walking trails. At Nokalula Falls, we'll have to cut events like Barbarian Challenge, Art on the Rocks, Trick or Treat Village, trout fishing, and have limited days at Christmas at the Falls. We'll have to revise and limit Nokalula Falls Park and Campground mini golf and rental facility hours. We'll have to cut support for the Veterans Day Parade because our staff leads that parade. We'll cut partnerships and sponsorships of the Gadsden Runner Club, Coosa River Teen Trail, Independence Day Fireworks, Alabama Bass Trail, Alabama Bass Nation High School tournaments, Fisherman Bass Tournament, and many more. We'll be unable to go out and bid on tournaments for upcoming state, regional, national, and world tournaments in events such as basketball, baseball, softball, flag football, tennis, fishing, barbecue competitions, and other great events. We'll have to limit our downtown rental facilities to only being open for paid programs on Thursday through Sundays. We'll have to reduce our summer food service program where we serve free meals to children 18 and under in the months of June and July while they are out of school. We'll have to cut our senior nutrition program where we serve and deliver meals to our senior citizen population in the city of Gadsden. We'll have to reduce our closed Twin Bridges Golf Course. As you can see, Park and Recreation is not only touches the lives of the city of Gadsden residents, but for our surrounding communities and tourism. This will have a direct impact on the livelihood of our Parks and Recreation employees and everyone in the surrounding areas. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for being here. My name is Ruth Moffitt, and I'm the DEI Director with the City of Gadsden. I want to share with you today, as we all know, the City of Gadsden and this new administration has come in, and as we say, moving without brakes. But with this bill passed, we will come to a halt. We will not be able to continue to grow as we have been growing. The following organizations would be immediately cut to zero. That's the Bevel Manufacturing Center, Downtown Gadsden, Gadsden Airport Authority, Gadsden City Schools, which we fund right now close to $1 million. So the arts program, the school resource officers would immediately be cut. Gadsden Commercial Development, Gadsden Cultural Arts Foundation, that's the tourism, Gadsden State Community College, that's scholarships, Snail Grove, Etowah Free Clinic, Etowah Baptist Mission Center, Etowah County Food Bank, as well as other nonprofits. Every one of them would be cut to zero immediately. And that's about $2.3 million of our budget. As well as those organizations, municipal court would no longer be able to have 3 magistrates, but would have to go to 1. With the increase of crime, that will be catastrophic for Gadsden. As well, the library, the East Gadsden branch, would have to close immediately. Programs in Alabama City would close. The Gadsden Library would lose 13 to 14 part-time employees. They would lose 3 full-time employees. The main branch would have to operate on a rotating basis with reduced hours, which would affect Beautiful Rainbow, who's doing some amazing work. We would also see within our Museum of Arts, they would lose 1 full-time person. All outreach programs in the city and county would immediately cease. As well, art exhibits that bring in tourism in our community, they would have to decrease those from 40 down to about 24. Our transportation department would have to lay off 13 part-time employees. Our dark services would have to cut their ability to make their routes due to the fuel. With the budgets being cut like that and the FTA and the grants that we have to put up a city match for, it would put us in jeopardy of losing some of those grants through transportation. And lastly, but not least, our transportation service runs a route on Saturdays for people that need dialysis. That route would have to be cut. So we're asking you today to please contact Senator Jones and please ask him to drop this plan to defund Etowah County. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm David Hooks. I'm the Executive Director of the Gadsden Etowah Industrial Development Authority. I'm here to address one specific point in that has been made about occupational tax having a negative impact on economic development and industrial recruiting. 4 years I've been in this job, I have never once had a prospect ask me about the occupational tax. It's not an impact to those who are locating their buildings and their facilities here. It doesn't figure into their calculations. It is just not something that they are concerned about when we're doing our recruiting. So to say that is just not true. And the second thing is when you look at industrial recruiting manufacturing, you see it's occupational tax that allows us to have the financial resources to develop incentive packages to compete on the national level with other mega projects that are being recruited around the state. So from the IDA's director standpoint, that's my real impact comment for tonight. Now they made a mistake and said I could speak as long as I wanted to, so that would be later. And this is, for my board members who are here, that was my IDA comment. This is my personal comment as David Hooks, a citizen of Etowah County. Again, when I got here 4 years ago, little did I know how fragmented this county was. This city didn't talk to that city, this city didn't talk to that city, this city didn't talk to the county, and county didn't talk to this person didn't talk to the legislative delegation. What we've seen since November is a county that's come together, holding hands, working together. We go to Montgomery together. We go to Washington together. We are having an excellent response out of Montgomery and sending us projects again because of that. To have one elected official that is separate from every other elected official in the county is not what needs to be happening in this county. We all need to be holding hands. We all need to be working together and moving forward. And with that, thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Will Reed, and I'm Fire Chief of the City of Gaston Fire Department. I've served the city for 25 years, and in the past few months, I've been more excited than I've ever been for our firefighters. This city is discussing pay raises for our firefighters. They're purchasing a $1.1 million ladder truck for the citizens for the fire department. We're building 2 new fire stations, and the mayor and I have been discussing building a 3rd one in North Gaston. So things are looking up for the fire department and for the city. However, with this bill coming up, this is more dangerous for our public service and our citizens than anything I've ever seen in the 25 years I've been here. I don't want to fearmonger and I don't want to scare anybody, but what I'm about to present is the facts. The effects of losing this occupational licensing fee will be detrimental to the fire department and to our citizens that we protect. So the loss of revenue would cause the loss of every fire station before. We would have 4 fire stations left to run the entire city. Response times would increase, and response vehicles would be less. We would have further to go. The number of firefighters will be cut. Firefighters and officers will be cut from approximately 115 to approximately 55. There's no way that we can provide the level of service that we provide currently with 55 firefighters, about 18 firefighters a day. If these cuts come to fruition, business owners and homeowners rates would increase on their insurance. The city currently has an ISO rating of 2. For those of you that don't know, 1 is perfect, 2 is near perfect. We have the best insurance rate in the county. However, after contacting and consulting, it was determined that our rates would go up to a 5 or a 6 if this happens. If this also happens, some areas would be over 5 miles from a fire station. Your ISO rates would be a 10, which means you do not have fire coverage according to ISO. So your insurance rates would be astronomical in those areas. Emergency medical services. I'm proud of our firefighters. We provide the best emergency services money can buy. We have ALS services. We would be forced to cut the majority of our medic program out. The reason being, we are a fire department. We have to respond to structure fires, vehicle accidents, and other related emergencies. We would not have the manpower, the money, or the equipment to respond to these medical emergencies. These firefighters you see over here are the lifeblood of our fire department. We cannot do our services without those firefighters. Without them, the fire department does not exist. Firefighter morale would continue to erode, and retention and recruitment of these firefighters and future firefighters will be nearly impossible. And again, I'm not here to fearmonger. I'm not here to scare anyone. These are just the facts. Thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm Lamar Jaggers. I'm the police chief here in Gadsden. I'll try to keep it for 2 minutes. There's 2 choices. We either do the best services, which means less people. For me, few that means less police officers. So if you want, get in a wreck on Rainbow Drive on 411 and you're injured and you're hurt, you call 911, you probably want somebody to get there in a few minutes. Our average response time is around 11 minutes right now. Well, obviously, that's going to increase if we're going to lose officers. You're going to lose overtime too. You're not going to have that either. So you're going to have to do some drastic cuts. So if you want to keep the same level of service, you've got to come up with alternate ways to make money. So you just move it around, you just play it, or you just do without the services. You know, if you're all right waiting for 30 minutes, you've been in a car wreck and you broke your leg, you know, the firemen not coming either. You better hope there's an ambulance ready, because the policeman and the fireman is going to be a little bit. You know, somebody's trying to break in your kid's school and they got them all locked down. They got everything to try to keep people out, but people are always trying to get in. And I see you looking at me, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're trying to get in. And that happens on a regular basis. It's very uncomfortable because Gadsden and Etowah County is starting to behave like the rest of the country. And I thought, just a few years ago, I thought it wouldn't be that. I thought we were sort of separated from all that. We're not. But you got somebody beating on a glass door trying to get into a school full of elementary kids, and there's no policeman coming, or he's going to be there in 30 minutes, or he's going to be there in 45 minutes. It just all depends on how many are working that day and what kind of calls are going on at the time, because we normally send 2 policemen to every call. So if you got less policemen, we're still going to be sending 2 to every call. And that's just on a call we don't know what it's going to be like. If it's a call where shots are fired, we're going to send 3, 4, 5. Well, then you send 3, 4, 5, and you only got 6 or 7 on the shift after we've done the cuts, and you're not paying overtime to work people in. You might be in trouble. So small government's all right as long as you're going to handle your problems yourself. And then we'll come and help you after it's over. That's all I got to say.
Good afternoon. I'm Jacob Benjamin. I'm a sergeant in the Gadsden Police Department. I've been elected to the Gadsden Police Department Labor Council. I was elected exactly 1 year ago and re-elected last month. I'm here to talk on behalf of the men and women of the Gadsden Police Department. Currently, right now, 2023, we have 13 officers of all ranks, from officer all the way up to captain, that can walk out the door today and retire. Cuts like this and budgetary scares me for those guys, because those are the guys that are probably going to be first. What scares me more than that is currently today we have 21 officers for less than 5 years at this point. Those are the guys that are looking at where's my future. Is it? I don't want to give them somewhere else to try to make a living for my family. That leaves us with 34 officers to see. Just like Chief Eggers just spoke on, we're not going to make it happen. Patrol shifts, off-duty jobs, credit unions, banks, mall security details, you know, we cover it. We're at special events just like this. We're not going to have the staffing just. Overall morale will shift down. Since November, I can say as a labor council, the momentum that we have seen in this mayor's administration, the voice that our police officers have in this mayor's administration has been tremendous. Over the past 2 weeks, it's almost kind of whittled down fear. Your fear is our fear as well. Last thing I'll say, 2018, Netflix released a documentary on Flint, Michigan called Flint Family. You may have seen it. The very first episode kind of set me back. It's a city the size of Birmingham, the police force the size of Gadsden. Man called for service from a robbery call. He had already went to the hospital, been admitted, received staples in his head, went home, went through 3 sleep cycles before law enforcement arrived to take his report. I hope that that's not I'm guessing. Thank you.
Good evening. I just want to add one thing to what the chief and Jacob said, and that is currently the city of Gadsden has a contract with the Etowah County Detention Center. Most of you know that as the county jail. We pay about $750,000 per year to house inmates there. With these proposed cuts, that contract would be renegotiated. We would not be able to pay $750,000 per year. And to me, that means that some people that deserve to be in jail would be on the streets. So having said that, I just wanted to add that to what they said. I'm Tina King, Director of City Services for the City of Gadsden, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about sanitation. Since the Ford administration has taken office, we have worked really hard in beginning to clean up our city. And y'all are going to have to excuse me, I'm going to have to use my teacher's voice as I demonstrate this to you. But we have had call after call on people who complain about dumping in our city. And it's horrendous, the number of calls we receive, and the number of people that think that it's okay to just go out and dump trash just on the side of the road. And if we continue to do this, we're gonna have a city that's full of garbage. And that's what y'all are allowing, if you allow this bill to pass. If you allow Senator Jones to move forward with this, you're gonna look at that every day outside of your door until you go out there and clean it up. And if you want to go clean it up, great. That's fantastic. But most people don't want to take ownership of it and go clean it up. So moving on, what else would that mean with sanitation? We also would not be able to maintain grass cutting like we have. Did I mention the rodents that that's going to attract? Now add in grass that's about 18 inches tall, 24 inches tall. Those rodents can hide and they'll feast on that. But y'all are going to go clean it up, right? Because we're not going to have the city workers to go and do it. That's what it means when you start cutting our public works department. When you talk about signage, Public Works does all of our signs to tell you where to go in the city. What if a stop sign is down? It may take 2 or 3 months to get to it. It may be the next day. Depends. These are just a few of the things that will have a huge impact on you as a community member. Maybe the police and fire, that doesn't affect you, it won't impact you, but I can promise you, Public Works will have a direct impact on your life. Thank you.
I'm Heath Williamson, Director of Engineering for the City of Gadsden. Tax repeal would have a very negative effect on our anticipated construction improvements. We have several new projects planned. A lot of those have been discussed by other departments. New fire stations at Nakalula Falls, Rainbow Drive, new resurfacing projects on Hope Street, South 11th Street, Tabor Road, Walnut Street. Several drainage projects literally in every district across the city, as well as major improvements to the Nakalula Falls Park Campground, I know Jen already talked about, as well as corridor improvements to that whole area along the corridor. So while these majority of these projects are already in design mode, we've allocated that, the mayor has authorized those to go forward. The important thing to note is that the construction budget would immediately be diminished should this pass. So not only that, it will certainly limit the existing budget we have, but as well as our ability to secure the necessary loans and the bonds to move all of these much larger projects into a construction state. As originally intended, simply put, the plans would be shelved. Our anticipated growth will be stopped, meaning the projects won't get built. We won't have anything to build them with. We are right on the edge of some major positive improvements in the city of Gadsden. I think everybody has felt just another sense of hope, energy that the mayor and his staff has brought into the city. My department, I can say, I've got one of my guys standing against the wall over there listening. We're busier than we've ever been, and it's a blast from an engineering perspective. Don't let the momentum stop. This is just a great thing for the city. The momentum that we have, the projects that are ongoing. Literally, it's hard to keep up with Mayor Ford, but I'm loving it. So please don't let it stop. My name is Jody Smith. as Mayor Ford said earlier, I grew up in Gadsden. My two sisters and I did, and my mom taught school for 30 plus years here. My dad worked at the Goodyear plant for 30 plus years. 1985, graduate of Gadsden High School. I've been practicing law since 1995, and I've been doing public finance law since 2002, so over 20 years. And also have some perspective not only about Alabama public finance law in the state, but I currently serve as the president of the National Association of Bond Lawyers. This is an organization of about 2,500 lawyers throughout the U.S. who do what I do. So have some perspective about how all matters like this play out throughout the U.S. and how they play out in the press, et cetera. Also had the good fortune of being bond counsel for the city of Gadsden for much of my career as a public finance lawyer, and have worked on projects like this building venue, which was repurposed from an old Kmart to just a beautiful event center for the city of Gadsden. One of the early projects I worked on was the Gadsden City High School. And so those are some of the fruits of my labor and many others. The projects like this, city of Gadsden, any municipal government can't afford to build something like this out of their current revenues, so they have to borrow money in the bond market, in the debt markets. And elimination of the occupational tax would, I think, jeopardize the city's ability to finance large capital projects like this. And we might say, well, why? And it's not just projects like the high school, or the venue, but projects like, it was mentioned, the fire stations, fire trucks. I mean, a $1.2 million fire truck is not something, typically you're going to finance something like that. So why would elimination of the occupational tax affect the city's ability to do capital projects like this that benefit everyone? The city issues its debt as general obligation indebtedness, and it's rated. It has a very respectable rating through Moody's, which is one of the big rating agencies, with A2 right now. Elimination of a tax, the percentage of the occupational tax from the city of Gadsden, likely would have a very drastic effect on the city's bond rating. And you say, well, why do I care? Well, specifically tied to the bond rating is the rate of interest that you pay on your bonds. I mean, an A2 is a very respectable investment grade rating. If the city had a non-investment grade or junk rating, it would be very hard to find buyers or to find them at all. It would definitely be more expensive. The other issue is that would be in the future. In the present, if the tax were greatly reduced or eliminated, it probably would invite litigation from the bondholders, because they were promised by the city when it issued its debt that it's put its full faith and credit behind the bonds. And if a large chunk of the revenue went away, they could argue that their contractual rights to be repaid are impaired. So just a few thoughts from a local son who has had the good fortune of working with the city and the important things that Mayor Ford and his administration want to do. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kay Moore. I'm director for Downtown Gadsden. And before I say anything, you've heard Ruth Moffitt say nonprofits will be the first to be cut. We understand that. It's scary. We don't like that. But that's just one of those things. So I've been director for 15 years. Last year, the city provided 47% of the budget for Downtown Gadsden. If this bill is passed and our city funding is eliminated, which we know it will be, we're going to be unable to entice people to come from other areas to visit our beautiful downtown. If this bill is passed, shopping and dining will take a direct hit. Sales taxes will decline. And that creates an even a more severe deficit for the city because now we're losing sales taxes as well. If this bill is passed, fewer people will be shopping and dining. Employees will be negatively impacted. Small businesses will struggle and they'll be forced to close. You probably don't know how much downtown Gadsden depends on the Gadsden Police Department and the Public Works Department. This is the only reason that we can provide First Friday, which is a huge economic draw to our city, because it's basically 80% of the people that attend First Friday are not from the city of Gadsden. I like to call it foreign money. They bring their foreign money in. They come and they eat and they shop. They buy gas at the gas stations. They spend the night in our hotels. So I think that when we're cut, we won't be here. But this, as you've heard, the police department will be cut. They won't be able to provide the services that we would need, even if we could have First Friday. We depend, the Public Works Department has been so good and to help. They set us up. They clean us up after it's over. You come to downtown on Saturday morning after a First Friday when you've had 12 to 15,000 people there, you'd never know there'd been a giant street party the night before. So that's what we depend on that, and we know that's not going to happen. So back in the 1990s, Gadsden was recognized as one of the worst cities in the United States based on the lack of culture. That's when the people got together, they formed the Mary G. Harden Center for Cultural Arts, which houses Imagination Place, the Downtown Dance Conservatory, Etowah Youth Orchestra. Now the Gadsden Museum of Art is downtown. And then they expanded Noppaloola Falls. So that's added a huge quality of life for all of us. We've been the benefit of that. These venues bring in thousands of visitors from across the country. And they shop and they dine in our city. They won't be coming because we're not going to be able to tell them that we're here. When recruiting business to Gadsden, which David Hooks, Lisa Osborne do, at Etowah County, not just Gadsden, but Etowah County, the first thing the prospects that are coming want to see is the downtown area. I've been told that multiple times. This is because they're looking for a viable, vibrant downtown. You know, a downtown is the heartbeat of your community. If you don't have a viable, vibrant downtown, your community is not going to be very good. So quality of life, we've heard that, we've heard it said already, is so important to entice people and businesses to come to a small town, and that's what we are. So without this financial support of our city, we won't be able to maintain the success that we've achieved. The mayor has put together a great team. We're moving forward. You've heard positive, positive, positive. Everything's been positive since November the 7th. Let's keep that positive focus. Let's not lose that initiative. Don't let this bill pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Just real quick, I want to remind everybody to look over here at John Moore's beautiful face. It's important for y'all because he has the slips of paper. If anybody has a question, we're going to have a Q&A opportunity at the end. We want to ask you to please write that down, flag him down, ask for a slip of paper, write it down. You can raise your hand, make eye contact with him, and then raise your paper back up when it's ready. He'll come back and pick it up so we can be ready to ask those questions at the end. All right, next, yes. Yeah, who did correct? Okay, as David Hook said earlier, nothing has united the mayors in Etowah County more than this single issue. So I want to invite the mayors that are here that are affected by this bill to speak. We'll start with Joe Taylor.
I'm not big on speaking. If you know me, I know the firefighters know that, and they can back me up on that. But I'm Joe Taylor. I'm the mayor of Rainbow City, and we did speak with Senator Jones. I don't have a problem personally with anyone that has their opinion. I don't have a problem with people that believe in their fundamentalist views. But those fundamental views have to be backed up with certain things, and those are your core values. When we met with Senator Jones, and this is not a way of slamming Senator Jones. Like I said, I always issue him his due respect. But when we met with him, he couldn't come up with a reason why we want to do away with this. Let's just do away with it. That sounds really, really good, except for the city of Rainbow City. It's simple math for us. We're about $10 million a year budget, $2.4 million of that, and we'll just round it down to, we'll knock it out and say it's 2. If you take that and do that times 20 years, we know that our budget total is $200 million. That's easy, right? We know that we can go to 20 years on, times 2, and we know what our occupational tax or occupational license fee is going to be. It's very simple math, but we know when you start to remove that $40 million from that 200 is all of a sudden not very much. Now, we can then go on, and I'm not trying to get given a lesson in economics, because obviously I've been outsuited here. Thanks a lot. But the truth is that when we start talking about the economy and you start talking about knee-jerk reaction. I heard somebody say today on social media that Gadsden's making a knee-jerk reaction. It's not a knee-jerk reaction, because in the way economy works, in the way government reacts to its own economy, which is the money that you guys send to us, we have a lag time. That lag time creates a very, very touchy balance that puts us in a situation where we have to predict the future. And we do that through budgeting. And we are handed a budget. A couple of years ago, I got handed one. It was a pretty sweet budget. Doesn't look so good now if this were to pass. So let me say this. Brett mentioned something about federalism and that the USA equals federalism. That's the truth. But federalism is a derivative of constitutionalism. And I think Mac Butler, he always kills me. He always gives me a lesson on the Constitution. The one thing about the Constitution is it sets this thing up so that we don't have overreach, so that you don't stick your hand into my business. This bill sticks its hand into the business of Rainbow City, Southside, Gadsden, Glencoe, and Attala. And when you put your hand in there and begin to remove something, I can't do anything but react in fear, because I've still got to provide services. Those services are critical. I'm not the guy that can just get up here and start preaching about being a politician my whole life, because I haven't been. I was a soldier for 17 years. I was a grass cutter, and then I was a firefighter for 25. I served this city. And this is the point I think that I would have to make as the mayor of another city. I'm trying to protect the city of Gadsden. Those were the people that I served, that I went out when they were hurting, when they were in the midst of chaos, when their lives were falling apart, when they were standing in the road while we put every bit of their life, we were spraying water on it. Now, if that's the kind of thing that you think you can correct by coming in and applying economic rule like the senator is doing, I hate to tell y'all, but we've gotten out of the people business and gotten into a business of numbers. They're spouting numbers. Man, they can sling those numbers around like I can't do it. I had to put mine in first grade for everybody here, but especially me. But I'm just going to tell you, when it gets down to the cutting, when it gets down to the cutting, I promise you guys, you've got leadership in place. And we know that there's tension in leadership. There has to be, because we obviously are trying to move towards something. Are we in a competition with the city of Gadsden? Absolutely. I want to beat their britches off. But the truth is, there are certain things that I can't get from them. There's certain things that they can't get from me. But there's a lot of things that we all share. And the one thing that we share is a population that has decided to move in a different direction. A region that is strong, that is vibrant, and that, like David Hook said, we've never heard someone say, that's what's keeping us from coming to town. Rainbow City is growing. And we will stop growing at the point when you decide that you're going to stick your hand in our coffers. The truth is very, very simple. When we get to the end of the day, we have to provide premium services to the citizens of Rainbow City. And our citizenry requires that. We have 50% of our city goes out to work every day and they pay an occupational license fee to another city. That doesn't bother me. That's none of my business, honestly. But think about the mayors that are coming up here and saying, we've got to hold on to this fee. We pay it. Myself, and I know that Mayor Ford's doing the same thing. We're giving our salary back, in my case, back to my schools. I give it back to my schools because our children harm themselves at a higher rate in this area. We can't figure out why. Why not throw a little money at it and see if we can't get our representatives to go to Montgomery and find us some more. That's the only reason that I did it. I want my senator to go down there and help me solve that problem. I don't need him to be here minding my business. I promise you, de-elect me, unelect me, and send me on down the road if we can have one of our state representatives come in and do the job of Craig Ford and Larry Means and Dana Snyder and Chris Hare and all the others, Scott Reeves. Just come and do our job for us. And I promise you, I've got a place to go to. It's overreach. It's just sheer overreach. And I think my 2 minutes is almost up. But anyway, I told you I can't do 2 minutes. It's overreach. It's not his job to stick his hand into the business of Rainbow City. I love to hear Mac when he uses this word, and I'm sure he's going to pop it out just to make me feel it. He always talks about the sovereignty of our state and the sovereignty of our city. Leave the sovereignty of my city alone, or fire me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor of Southside, Dana Snyder.
Well, Joe always shows me up. I do not talk that long. I'm not a public speaker, but our budget is a little over $6 million a year. We don't have 8% maybe of occupational tax, which is $600,000 or so a year in our budget. That provides our SROs for our 2 schools. That also provides some of our sanitation services and definitely the increase in the police and fire that we're trying to do right now by building a fire station. So I am with every mayor here, everybody here. I think that Andrew Jones needs to keep his nose out of our business. And we did all meet together the other day, and pretty much he made me mad. So there's one thing I can say that I regret probably in the last 10 years, and that was supporting him as our senator.
I have to remind the next mayor, we're not on the Senate floor. So 2 minutes for Italian Mayor Larry Means.
No way I'm gonna speak 2 minutes. I'm telling you, I'm not a public speaker, but I can go over 2 minutes. And let me tell you what, he did make her mad. I didn't really know her. He's her best friend. I won't be on that. I saw a sign. I didn't know her. But thank everyone for coming out. And yeah, I do need a haircut. Some of my good friends have told me, and that's the ones back there with the light shining on their head. My girl cuts my hair has been sick, but I said, as long as I can still grow hair if I want to. No friendship. I'm not going to be as nice about the senator from Cherokee County as I've heard here tonight. But again, let me say, look at this crowd. Well, Mark's probably going to be passing a plate here in a minute. I guarantee that or somebody's going to try to get elected anyway. But I thank all y'all for coming. What a crowd. You know, I said it might be 10, whatever there. I want to Craig, good friend. He pulls all this together. He's got that energy. I couldn't hardly handle working for him right now. I appreciate what he does, but we did, back from the senator of Cherokee County, that's why I'm going to refer to him every time. He's not for Etowah County, that's sure. First year he started all this, when he first got in office, this is not his first rodeo on this deal. And I called him. I said, you know, I'm an old man. Let me give you an old man's advice. And by the way, I called Representative Butler, and I apologize too, Dana. I made a big mistake that election anyway. And he was very kind, and I appreciate you being that way. I said, before you introduced, he had 20-something local bills, the county, he was going after everybody. And Craig and I both spent, and Matt knows, and Representative Lipscomb, when you got a local bill you're even thinking about, go sit down with those people and talk to them about, know what you're doing. Because you know, this right here is going to happen. I've been there on both sides. I told him that the other day when we were in the meeting. I don't mind, there was nothing to say, we couldn't say what was in the meeting. I've been on both sides. I have never seen any House member, senator go after and cities like this and start trying. You're supposed to bring them in money, not take money away from them. He says he's fundamentally against occupation tax. That's his privilege. And he said, you know, this is making people pay to go to work. I said, you didn't mind voting for that gas tax, but they got to go put gas in car to go to work. And anytime, we know this by now, anytime you say something like that to him, no response. No response. He has no response. He cannot defend that. And David Hooks is right. David helped us get a $58 million food plant there. Never mentioned it. I've been doing this. I've been around. I'm not trying to say I'm smarter than Andrew Jones. I mean, excuse me, the senator from Cherokee County. I said I wasn't going to say it. But I've been in more meetings than he has about that. He can say what he wants to. So I called the mayor of Tuskegee. You saw where they just got the big plant. 2% occupation tax. Never mentioned it. They're tickled to get it down there. Just never mentioned it. And I just say, and he's just, I mentioned this the other day in the meeting to him too. I said, why are you coming against Etowah County? You don't leave them alone. I said, do you think sales tax are regressive? Oh yeah, they're regressive. I said, why don't you go to Cherokee County and try to get them cities, take that sales tax away from them cities? No response. No response. I've never seen a guy that seems like he's just against Etowah County. And he's supposed to be representing us. He won Etowah County. Excuse me, man. I endorsed him in 2018. He won big over there. I apologize again. I'm sorry.
I won Etowah County.
Oh, did you? Okay, that's good. That's good. Anyway, I'm so sorry I did. I just never dealt with him. I've dealt, Phil Williams, everybody knows how smart and hard-headed he is, but he would sit down and he'd call me anyway and talk about things. This guy has not, before that meeting Tuesday, now y'all had a little meeting that he brought up there, and let me say it backfired on him. But he has never sat down with us about this right here. Can you imagine that? You're going to take my budget's about 11-something million. This is 1.8 million. Now you take that out of my budget and see what's going to happen. We're not talking about letting people off people. We're talking about talking people cutting jobs. And look at that police and fire. Let's give all them a big I mean, in every city's like Mayor Ford's here. You can't get policemen. You can't get firemen. What are you going to do when this happens? You're sure not going to be able to get it. And I thank you all guys for what you do every day. And I'm trying to think of something else I'd say bad about the city of Cherokee. I spoke to me Pancake Day. I didn't get on it. Anyway, I knew I read something else I'm mad at him, but I can't think of it. Anyway, and I'm like, Joe, I didn't have anything personally against him, but I got something personally against him. This is affecting my city, your city. And here's one thing that I can say about this. It means more to me than anything. We never disliked Gadsden or Rainbow City or anything, but we just often did our own thing. One thing they say when something bad like this happens, it brings people together. This five, we sat together last at lunch, and David was out of town. We're together. We're dug in. He's texted me that several times. I know you're dug in. I know you're dug in. We are dug in. He's messing with the wrong bunch on this. John, about 2 minutes up. Okay. Let me say what we just now passed. I called a special meeting at 3 o'clock before I came over here. We passed a resolution, of course, against what he's doing. But here's the crying shame of it. We hired 2 lobbyists a few minutes ago. $40,000. That's a lot of money for us right now. It's a shame that the city has got to go hire two lobbyists to fight one of their state senator. I know I get fired up about this, but I'm pissed off about this. Sorry, Aaron. But, it's all of it as much as it is what he, listening to him the other day, and he lays his paper report. I'm taping this. I would dare to use it against y'all, but I'm sorry, but yeah, all right. We're supposed to believe you. But again, guys, whoever you're talking to, yeah, of course, I paid that 2% for 24 years. It's still bad. But you know how I looked at it? I use the road, street, sewer, water, everything to come there, to shop there. I didn't mind. Nobody likes taxes. I don't want any taxes either. But we have to, like Joe said, we got to have them to exist to run a city. And we sure can't take something away. I'm done. Thank you for having me.
Next up, we have from the Etowah County Commission, the chairman of the Etowah County Commission, Craig Inslee.
Well, that got me a little fired up too. I go back to, speaking of this, is when I think, well, Larry and Sherman and some of the other mayors, we've had to do this. We've had to do this before. We've had to do this 4 years ago on another bill that was introduced that we all have to stand here and fight again. We sat on the courthouse steps and fought him. So now this is now the second time. So sorry to say, I'm Craig Inslee Jr. I'm the president of the county commission. I'm up here for District 6, not for the county commission, just for my district, which encompasses Glencoe, Rainbow City, and the city of Gadsden. And so I have talked with each mayor. I've been with each mayor. I'm hearing support for each mayor. I can go back and say that in the last 4 months with Mayor Ford, Mayor Joe Taylor, with the help of others, and Dana, and Larry, and the other 6 or 7 that are here, for the first time since 1984, the Etowah County Commission has joined the Industrial Development Authority. We are funding that authority along with Rainbow City as well that's coming on board. It's the first time since 1984 that's happened. We continuously and have been going to Montgomery to recruit businesses. If you take away one tax, it's going to have to come from another place. That's just the way it is. Or you're going to go cut all the services and all the things that we've been told here before about the city of Gadsden, along with the other cities that are going to have to cut if you do that. City of Gadsden is the largest. So when we listen to the city of Gadsden, think about what they're going to have to do. It just bleeds down. It also bleeds down to the county commission, because a friend of mine said this today, it's kind of like having two or 3 or 5 unemployed kids. The county's going to have to step in at some point and go help them out. We can't just sit around. The county commission can't sit around and just let it happen. We can't. We have a less budget. We have a third of the budget of the city of Gadsden. The county commission has a $23 million budget. So everybody thinks the county is the bigger and we do everything. We are all over the whole county. Well, we do, but we want to get 1% of the sales tax out of everybody. If there's 10, it goes one county, 4 state, and 5 local, and the ones that are 10. We get 1%. And we have 375 employees at the county with the jail and our deputies and our other staff. So at some point, it might not affect us totally because we don't have an occupation tax. But when we have 5 different municipalities that are going to lose these funds, it's going to take effect on us. And we're going to have to do whatever we have to do to come in and help. And so the other thing that I go back to, reminded me when Larry spoke, was that 4 or 5 years ago, when we had this same problem, we're here again, and it's a total overreach. I know y'all have heard that before, but you got to understand, a state senator, in my opinion, along with representatives, we elect them to go to Montgomery to represent our interests. Our interests. Everybody in this room's interest. Okay? So if we elect somebody to go to Montgomery and say, hey, work, build relationships, do everything you possibly can
to make a deal here, to help this city over here to get something back for here. Get us a road project, get us a downtown project, get us a grant, whatever it is. And then come back and say, look, I can get this, I can do this. Can you match money here? Yes, I can 20% match that money. Please go back to Montgomery and get some more. That's what they're designed to do. Our job is to take that money, use it wisely like y'all have elected us to do. Put it in each one of our counties and in our cities. As a county commissioner that has 3 of the municipalities that this bill affects, I can tell you one thing I haven't done in 5 years is tell them how to run their city. And I don't expect the senator to tell us how to run our county. Thank you.
Next up, I want to invite members of our House of Representatives, our state representatives in the delegation to come up. First up, we'll have the representative for Gadsden, Rainbow City, and Atala, Matt Buckley.
Thank you so much. It's great to be with all of you tonight. Great turnout. I got to say, my friend Rod Scott is a home run for not just Gadsden, but Etowah County. When Mayor Ford called me and told me he was hiring him, I was just like, that is one of the smartest gentlemen I've ever had the pleasure to eat dinner with. He's great. He's going to be great things. But I am Matt Butler. I was raised here, grew up here, graduated high school here, married a local girl. We've raised 4 children. We've been in business here 38 years. Matter of fact, I actually carried the newspaper downtown Gadsden in 1974 when I was 11 and actually carried 17 papers to City Hall. If you want to do the math, I'm 59 now. But I have the distinct privilege of representing Gadsden, Atala, and Rainbow City. And what David Hooks mentioned about the positivity, the community, the spirit that is coming from our mayors and council is phenomenal. I've never seen that. And there is no way that I am going to run over these guys. We're going to work in cooperation with whatever we do, because we've got to work and keep the team together like we're going. I have just never, being here and being part of government off and on for a long time, I've never seen the spirit, cooperation, positivity. Gadsden and our community has been through a lot. Not with COVID, but with Goodyear, we've taken a lot of hits, the steel plant. But the sense of spirit and positivity that's radiating from all of our municipalities, from our county commission, everybody literally enjoys each other and is working hand in hand in one direction. If we were to run over you guys, that would stop right there. We cannot do that. Let's work in community and in cooperation in the spirit. Man, let's go after. Mark and I were in Montgomery the day. We learned our workforce participation is at an all-time low. When they holler, we got record unemployment, that means nothing. That means how many people are looking for a job. We have got only 57% of able-bodied people that are participating in our workforce. 43% have just stepped out of it. We need to get them back. I know the mayor's told me about some things that are on the horizon that sound incredible. The way to really do anything is grow the economy. And we need to continue that if we could break generational poverty. And a lot of things we've been involved with when Greg and I were in the legislature. One of the things I was most proud of is when Airbus came, we did the dual enrollment career tech training that literally, when Airbus came, they needed 900 welders. We didn't have them. But we did it where you could be in high school and be dual enrolled, whether you want to be a plumber, electrician, carpenter, whatever, but they could literally graduate high school and go straight to their career. And the goal was always, as a 10-year school board member, was to get our students either college or career ready. We broke ground this week for a workforce development center. It's state-of-the-art. That's going to impact this community. Let's keep the positivity going and let's work together. Thank you so much.
Representative Mark Goodwin.
Matt went over his 2 minutes. You know, something I noticed a while ago, I just want to point this out. I noticed John Moore, the joy on his face as he poured that out on the floor. Now we're going to see if he's going to clean it up, right? Well, I am Mark Gidley. I'm representative for District 29, and it's a joy to be here tonight. I have something else tonight on my plate, something I had committed to quite some time ago. And but I canceled that to be here tonight because I felt like it was extremely important to be here. As representative for one of our representatives, and if you live on the right side of Nakalula Drive, going up Nakalula Mountain, and on the far end of North Gaston, past where Max District goes up toward Thompson School, you live in my district. And one of the things I want to say is I want to hear from anybody that and what your opinions are. I'd love to hear from you because what I said as I was running for this office is that unless you have a heart to serve and run for a representative or whatever the position is, senator, whatever it is, and don't have a heart, or whatever the position is, and don't have a heart to serve the people and to work to do what's best for the community, you just need to stay at home. And so that's what I hope to do. Now, tonight I come because I knew there'd be a lot of information. I appreciate the information that's been shared here tonight, because that's what I've been trying to do, is gather information, because what is the number one goal? The number one goal is to do what's best for our city and best for our people. And that's my commitment to these mayors, to these city councils, to our delegation, is to work together to do our best to do what's best for our cities and keep it growing. You know, I love Gadsden. I didn't grow up in Gadsden. Don't let anybody know, but I grew up close to Glen Williams. But please don't hold that against me, okay? But out in Hope's Bluff. But I love Gadsden because I've lived here. I've lived just outside of here all my life. I love to hear my daddy tell stories about Gadsden because my daddy was born right after the turn of the century. And he used to tell me about driving a 2-horse wagon over the railroad trestle before there was a Broad Street Bridge. Some of y'all didn't know that, even that kind of thing existed. There's a lot of history in this city, a lot of growth in this city, and as Max said, there's a lot of wonderful things ahead for this city. And I want to do my best to do my part to serve and to make sure we make that happen. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I appreciate it.
That's Representative Craig Lee.
There are 3 things I know more than anybody else in this room. That's how to dress well, how to grow a beard, and how to do architecture. As a matter of fact, I have a practice just about a mile from here, downtown Gadsden. Proud to have a practice there. I could have gone anywhere in the United States. I graduated from Auburn University, and that was one of the most difficult processes I've ever gone through in my life. I finished with a bachelor's degree in architecture, and I could have gone to Charleston. I could have gone to Boston. I had a lot of places to go, but I came back to Gadsden. I grew up in North Gadsden. Our family, we slowly migrated south and eventually landed in Hortonville. So I live in the county. I'm surrounded by all the municipalities that can all touch me. And, I'm at a distinct disadvantage here because I don't have a PowerPoint presentation like everybody else does. But, the thing about Etowah County, it's very unique. We're the smallest county in the state of Alabama, geographically speaking. Every municipality touches another municipality. You could put one foot in Rainbow City and another foot in Gadsden, one foot in Attala and another foot in Rainbow City. It just happens. Every municipality touches. That makes us a very unique community statewide. Anywhere else you go, you have to travel miles to get from one city to another, but not here. And what that means is that we have a certain community that's unique. It's a community where we have to collaborate, we have to work together. It concerns me when I hear about something that would negatively impact my community. I have a business in Gadsden, but I represent Southside and Glencoe and Rainbow City. And one of the things that I promised when I was elected was I'm going to make sure that the Southside Bridge gets built, and we are. But we can't if we don't have something to put into the pot, right? So we have to make sure that we protect what we have and grow what we have in order to do bigger and better things, because it's going to take a collaboration of federal and state and local dollars to do these big things that we've decided that we want to do. It's not my place to dictate to any municipality how to operate. They're held accountable by the people who elected them. And so I think it's important that we, as was said previously, stay in our lane. I don't like when the federal government tells the state of Alabama what to do, and I don't think that our cities like when our when our local legislators tell them what to do. I'm on the local legislation committee in Montgomery, and I never see a bill coming there that has not been brought to a legislative body by their local people. It rarely happens. And so that is a unique thing that I don't think should be happening right now. The one thing that I've also noticed is that the best looking elected officials in the room are all named Craig.
Amen. Okay, so I'm going to end real quick. I know we've been in here at 6:33. We're trying to end earlier, but I just want to say a few things that I was going to say, and I'm going to make them quick. Let you know a little bit what's going on here. When we hear that somebody's going to take funds from our city, I was accused the other day, I overreacted. We overreacted as the mayoral group to meet with the senator. Let me explain something to you. When you say murmur that you have the power to take $15 million from a $75 million budget, we go in DEFCON 5. We're going to do everything possible to stop what you're doing and explain to the people why we need the monies that we need. The next thing is we are looking at building 3 new fire stations. We're also looking at rotating a fleet with our Gadsden Police Department. They're driving cars 20-something years old, some of them. Some of them don't have enough vehicles that we have to have the new police officers sit behind the desk because we don't have enough vehicles. Unacceptable. We're talking about rebranding our image for the city of Gadsden. If you notice the G up here above us, we did have a city seal with Emma Sampson statue on it. We had Gulf State Steel, which is out of business, Goodyear, which is out of business. You look at Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, Oxford, everybody goes to a new brand. We're rebranding our city. Member Wilson, Councilmember Avery, I can't remember who was on the committee the other day, and Pastor Councilmember Steve Smith. We're on this committee. We're talking about rebranding our city with a new seal for a new image for Alabama. So I want to say this, when cuts happen, and unfortunately I was in the legislature with Matt, and Governor Bentley cut out 3 mental health hospitals in the state of Alabama. That may not speak anything to you, but let me tell you something, it speaks a lot to our first responders. When he shut down these mental health hospitals and these people started walking out on the streets, they're walking in everybody's community. Now, I've debated on saying this, but I noticed the Gadsden Times reported it the other day. We had a situation the other night on the Attala border in Gadsden in a hotel where a gentleman took off a toilet lid and beat a woman to death and then wrapped her up in toilet paper and set her on fire. Then he just got out and he started walking, and we caught him in Attala thanks to Attala PD. He said she was a witch, so he decided to set her on fire. People, if we cut our police force, this could happen in your backyard. The mental health is a major issue in this state, and not only in the state, but in our cities and our county. And it's something that we have to address. And we were looking at putting more monies to mental health with our probate judge, Scott Hassel, his direction, trying to help these people find a place where we could get them recovered and try to get them on the help that they needed. The next thing is, could you imagine calling 911 and they say, 911, please hold. Now that would happen. That can happen. You heard Jen talk about Parks and Rec, and I said, my God, are we going to cut that much? Well, let me tell you what we did. We told each department head, we're losing 30% of our budget. I want everybody to present to me 30% cuts within your department. I did not know, unfortunately, what all Parks and Rec does. Not just talking about the police and fire, but every department that we have. I had our insurance department. That may be a sign. I told y'all we're losing money. Somebody hit the lights. But let me tell you this. On Christmas Day, I'll tell you, our insurance department said they have 2 employees in there. She said, I don't have anything to do but to lay off 1 employee. So, I mean, what do you do? The next thing was Christmas Day, right in front of my house on Rainbow Drive, there was a shooting. It was in the county because the Maverick gas station and the other gas station, I can't remember what it is, the Shell, are in the county, but we had Rainbow City Police respond first. My brother comes in, and I was sick, and he says, there's a shooting on Rainbow Drive. I said, Okay, I'm headed down there, I think. And I go down there and I get in the meeting and I look and there's a guy standing in the middle of the road, mental health, holding a pistol, firing shots at individuals at the gas station. Rainbow City Police is to my right. Etowah County Sheriff's Departments are to my left. Gadsden PD is flanking them from the rear. And Rainbow City Police shoots a beanbag, I believe, and takes them down. And they treat them with respect. I said, I want to talk to the individual who did all this. I went up to the car, they pulled him out and said, "Sir, please tell me, what's your thought process?" He couldn't explain because he was a mental health patient. He used to be in a mental health facility, but he got thrown out. So that's what's walking around our streets and why we need first responders. The second part of that story is, think of the unity that took place there. You had 3 police departments that came in to solve a situation, and it was in a county, but in a city, and we had a neighboring city support us. We have an agreement with all fire departments that if there's a fire that takes place, we back each other up. We have a situation with our police departments. We all back each other up. That may cease and desist if we lose these monies. We have a homeless situation. I visited the homeless with our police department. We went in the woods. I said, I just want to see what's going on. Y'all people, we have a major homeless situation in the city of Gadsden. It's a fine line that we have to address our homeless situation. A lot of these people, some you can help. You need resources to help these people. If you cut out $30 million out of the budget, like Kay Moore said earlier, your nonprofits, I hate to say it, you got to be the first to go. Any idea of creating a homeless situation for the whole county coming together and working together is gone. So the other day, Rainbow City is working on the mega site link. They have an MOA, memorandum of understanding, where they're running, they are paying to run the sewage and the water line from Rainbow City all the way to the mega site. So David Hooks, who's now the Etowah County IDA, which is in no clapping, but I can tell you, it's a huge deal that all municipalities have one industrial development person. I can tell you story after story when we go ahead. I can tell you story after story when I sat in the governor's offices my 18 years as a legislator, and we had a prospect come, and they said, "So who do we call? The person over here, this person, or this person?" And I thought, oh, God, I don't know who to call. But for us to have one person that looks out the interest for all Etowah County is important. They asked me, they said, "Are you concerned about the mega site out there on 59? I said, "Absolutely. What's good for them is good for us. What's good for Dana is good for Craig. What's good for Larry is good for Dana." I mean, that's the way government works. And then you heard Craig answer or someone say earlier, this is the first time that all mayors, county commission, everybody in Etowah County is getting along and trying to do what's best. And you'll see the fruits of all this taking place in the next 4 years. We have energy in the city of Gadsden. We have plans. We're dealing with 9 prospective industrial prospects coming to Gadsden. We're going to break ground on 3 of them in the next 2 months. Some have 5 employees, some have 40. We're also in the final of 3 states of a major industrial plant coming to Gadsden, Alabama, which can employ 320 jobs. So I was hesitant. I was hesitant on saying this, but we're in the running with 2 other states. It is not, has anything to do with animals or birds or chickens or anything. So they're good paying jobs. The pay range starts at 45,000 all the way to 80,000. So just figure it out. We're under NDAs. We can't talk about it, but it's a viable prospect. All 5 mayors are united. We have department meetings for the first time in the city of Gadsden every Monday, right? At 10 a.m. We have all 25 department heads every Monday morning, city of Gadsden, come in a room, and we all sit around and we go around a room and we talk about what's best. You would not believe the problems that have been solved. Hey, Lisa, what can I do over here? And no, you can't do that. And Howell speaks up and then says, no, well, wait a minute. I can handle that. I'll go get that. Let me handle it. And I just sit there and I'm like, God, this is amazing. This is what we've been needing, all because of these employees that come together and share their ideas. If we had 30% cuts, I'm going to show you on the board in a minute. I'm going to show you about a bond. I talked to Ken Funderburk on the phone. There's a bond, what do you call him? Underwriter, a very wealthy underwriter. But he's a good friend of all of ours, and we love Ken, and his wife's the president of 2-year school system, J.F. Ingram. And I said, Ken, let me ask you some numbers. I'm gonna throw some numbers out at you, because we just got back from Washington DC, the first time a mayor staff in Gadsden has gone to Washington in a long time. And we had 4 or 5 people. We had one Congressman Adderholtz, ex-Alabama representative, his staff person here. We went up, we had meetings. We flew out, I think at 3, we left the insurance place at 3 a.m. Break was 10 minutes late. And then we got to the airport and we took off and we started having meetings at 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock. We met every congressman in Alabama just about. We met every U.S. senator from Alabama. We met Department of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg's office, Department of Transportation. He talked about rails and trails that could connect Southside, Rainbow City, Attala, Gadsden with bike trails, and how that's not a far-fetched ideal. However, we need $2 million in matching money. I said, that's not a problem until this bill comes up. So there's a lot of possibilities here. We visited 2 cities. We've been to Huntsville. We've been to Coleman. We're headed to Tuscaloosa, Prattville, and we're going to other cities to see what they're doing, to see what's going right. The ISO rating, I do know a little bit about insurance. If you think you're going to pocket, and here's one of Jones's arguments. If you think he's going to pocket, he says you'll be able to take home so much money a year if we do away with the 2% occupational tax. Well, number one, for us to continue services, not to the point of what we are now, we're going to have to raise revenue. So you're going to pay one way or another. The next way is that he's sitting here saying, I'm going to tell you something that he sent a mayor today, and he said, I'm sorry, I did not mean to send this to you. Right here. Yeah. And he said, oh, well, I guess you can see it. So when you call him, this is the response you're going to get. So we'll probably have to change it up. He says a $15 million annual hit to Gadsden's budget. Try $750,000, because he's saying he's going to spread it out over 20 years. 10 years, whatever, correct. That's correct. That's 20 years. He's going to take $750 from us every year. The occupational tax will be phased out. I had proposed would decrease the tax by 0.1% each year a unit is phased out. That's less than 1% of the city's budget. Don't forget, they're taking 2% of your paycheck. For the average household in Alabama, that's more than $1,000. He's right about Alabama. He's not right about Etowah County. And Etowah County is about $430. So after you pay taxes, do the math, you're going to be around $350, $300. Well, if we raise your garbage fee, we raise your ad valorem, and we go down, you're going to pay more than $350. That's not our desire. So I want to show you one thing before I leave. And this is what Brett helped me here, Vanna. So he's talking about offering a statewide bill, and the legislative delegation understands this. You want me to put it back, Mike? So this is legislature 101, not for y'all. These are the 26 cities that have the occupational tax. He offers a statewide bill. Then he comes in, you mark them off. Then he comes in, and guess what? We talked to the mayor of Opelika. He said, not no, but head no, is that bill going to pass? His legislators, Joe Laverne, who married a girl from Hopes Bluff, who's a good friend of mine, he said, Craig, don't worry, we're going to amend the bill and take us out. Y'all do your own thing. So he takes out Opelika. I've talked to the representatives in Mountain Brook, Jabbo Wagner, and some of the House members. They said, well, they're at 0 now, but they said they're not going to take away their ability to raise the occupational tax. Then we talked to the mayor of Tuskegee, and we talked to their representative, Evelyn Warren. She said, oh, no, that ain't happening. So they're going to go down and amend it. Each city's going to go to the microphone and amend out their city. So then what you have is a statewide bill with local implications. It's a statewide bill that everybody in the chamber gets to vote on, except for Etowah has to say so. So then we got to rely on our 3 House members to go to the microphone and threaten them with their life and says, if you vote on this bill, then I'm going to kill your local business. That's not what we want to ask them to do either. So that hurts them, that hurts their local bills that we're asking them to sponsor to help us. And then it gives them a bad image with all these other cities. This isn't the way government's supposed to work. Number one, we think it's unconstitutional. We plan on doing what we need to do to protect the sovereignty of our city. So I want you to understand that. The last thing, yes, he said he was gonna take $750,000 a year, but it's compounded. I want you to think of that. So it's 750,000 year one, year two, he's taking 750,000, but it's also taking 750 what we would have had the year before. 2.25 million, on and on and on. If you compound that over 20 years, is that 57?
157.
57 million.
157.
$157,500,750. Now think of that. That's what we're going to be penalized for trying to grow the city of Gaston. So if we grow 3%, we lose 1%. So then I asked the underwriter, what if we said, we're going to take our $15 million, which we can't do, but what if we did our $15 million and we were just going to do a 30-year bond with a payment every year of $15 million? What could we borrow? Today, on a 30-year bond, $15 million payment a year, we could borrow $230 million. Now imagine what we could do for the city of Gaston for $230 million. There's some big aggressive plans that we're looking at. I'll go ahead and tell you. We're looking at changing the whole spectrum here in Gaston. We're talking about moving 411. We're talking about building 3 fire stations. We're talking about a new fleet for police vehicles. We're talking about pay raise for employees. We're looking at new libraries, renovate libraries. We're talking about redoing our trolley system because it's not up to date to pick up people like I see over here who met with me who said, I can't get a ride to First Friday for Noccalula Falls. We're changing the sphere in Gaston, Alabama to make it a better place to live for all of our people. This would put us in park. So, I talked enough, but I want you to see where we're headed and what we're doing in Gaston. So y'all, this today, we're gonna take questions real quick. This today it did not happen because of me. We were just invited. It happened because the staff and our city employees realized the importance of this. And it happened because Jody Smith drove up from Birmingham after he just flew in from Texas. And he said, I'll be there because this is important to our cities to be able to do what we're doing. So thank you, Jody. We want to thank everybody that spoke tonight. So John, we'll start with questions with you.
So we had a lot, but we're not going to go through them all. We took about 5 or 6 that are probably the pertinent ones. Robert Hunter from Gaston, he was asking, is Senator Jones suggesting an alternative funding plan? This is pretty much set in stone.
So, Joe, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I think we'll.
No.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ed Hyatt from Gaston, she's saying, is there any chance the trolley or the trolley system will be affected? She says she actually has that kind of transportation.
1,000%. I hate to say that. Where do you make cuts? You got to make cuts where you can. The trolley system would be affected because one, we have to come up with matching monies for the federal government. And I see Lisa nodding her head, which we could not afford. So it would cut out our public transportation. Rainbow City, Southside Atala may not have the public transportations we need, but you heard someone say before we had people that had to go to dialysis. Well, I don't mind paying 2% occupational tax if the people in Gadsden need a ride to go get dialysis. I think that's the best we can do. So unfortunately, we'd have to make those cuts.
Randall from the Clubview area, he says, how much will I save if this actually passes? How much is that?
So I think I addressed that. If you take the average income for Etowah County, and you take the 2%, that's one person in the household, you would save about $460, I think it was, Brett. You take away taxes, it's around $350, $300 a year. Now, keep in mind, you get to take off of your state income tax what you pay on your OLLT now. So you get a benefit there.
All right, Ken from Rainbow City had one for the fire chief. What percentage of your calls are medical versus fire?
Currently, we said 65% of our calls are EMS calls. And when I said I would cut out making EMS calls, that's not including vehicle accidents, cardiac arrest, stuff like that. The calls that we would have to cut out is the calls that matter to individuals. The lifting assistance calls, the calls for aid with their smoke detector. I'm not saying cardiac arrest doesn't matter, but we run far more calls These ladies and gentlemen out here do informal calls for medical assistance as far as just doing out helping stuff than true emergencies such as cardiac emergencies.
All right, no one is Glenn Williams from the big city of Hopes Bluff. What is the chance of this act?
So, Glenn, good question. One is, I think we kind of got a feeling from our House members, they're going to support their mayors, so a local bill is going to be dead, because every member of the legislature, of the House delegation. I'm not speaking for them. I think they send a message today that they want to support their cities they represent. They're like me, I don't like it either. But, you know, taxes are a necessary evil, and I'm going to tell you something about Dan Snyder. But if statewide bill could pass, that's the danger, what I just showed you on the board. Now, all those other cities are gonna fight them. Gaston has hired a lobbying firm, Fine and Getty. How much is it? 78,000, 83,000 that he's cost us already at Tala. We've all agreed to put money into other lobbyists to do whatever we gotta do, because we're in DEFCON 5, but a statewide bill could pass. We're going down to Montgomery to meet with Governor Ivey, Bill Poole. Rod and I used to hang out with Bill Poole. He's the he was the budget chair of education. Now he's finance director for the state. And we're hoping if it ever got to her desk, she might veto it. So there is a chance.
Morgan from Gaza, Ms. Whiteford, Hooksy, has the occupational tax hindered our ability to attract new businesses? I think you covered it.
I would say right the opposite end, that without the occupational tax, we don't have the capacity to put up and say that just completely business at all.
So I'll say the plant that we're looking at, we're in the final 3, competing with Tennessee and South Carolina. We're using the OLF fee to build the road and infrastructure to the plant as an incentive. You take away that, we have nothing to give them.
Jill from Gadsden wants to know, with Andrew Jones voting for the largest gas tax, why is he wanting to do away with the occupational tax?
Ask Andrew. I don't know. It's politics. It's politics at its worst.
I'll finish with this one. Jamie from on the Knockville Mountain wants to just kind of, I think you already answered it, but wants to make sure that Mark and Mike and Craig are up to the challenge of killing this people. You guys,
So I gotta remind Mayor Taylor, Matt Butler's ours. He's partially yours. But we're excited about our House delegation. There, Senator.
Let me say one thing, and we didn't mention the last thing that the senator from Cherokee County said. The last thing that he said to us when we walked out of the room, if you remember, he said, I think I'm gonna pass it this year, but if I don't, it's coming year after year. Now, when a guy threatens you with that, I say, promises you with that. So this is not over in 1 year. So we got to be ready.
So I'm gonna leave you with this. Mayor Snyder said it. Let me tell you one thing. I did a mayor's minute. We're trying to use Channel 99 more often. So please look at that. There's a YouTube channel about it too, to get information out. And I was doing a mayor's minute, and I was having a Mardi Gras Fat Tuesday with our minister of music, JT Harrell, and they said, take that video down. I said, I thought I did pretty good. And it said, nobody loves taxes more than me. And I was like, oh, no, take that down. And I was trying to say, nobody dislikes taxes more than me. So nobody dislikes taxes more than me, I can promise you. But the other day we're meeting with Andrew Jones, and Mayor Snyder said something that I understood. She said, you know, it's hard for people to understand why you have to pay taxes. I get that. Because when I was in the legislature all those years, we passed a 1% sales tax for the school board. The school board was able to build Gaston City High School. We built 5 county high schools, and Etowah built a high school. We built all football fields and all gyms throughout Etowah County. You know that bill was on the ballot, the referendum, and the city of Etowah County passed it 70-30, and it had to be done twice. It may be coming up again. I don't know, the renewal of it. People don't mind paying taxes if they know where their money's going. But they don't like paying taxes, pouring water through a hand, it disappears. And Mayor Snyder said that to him. He said, so are you saying your people are dumb? So I got scared. So she slammed her book and she stood up for Southside. She said, don't you put words in my mouth, everybody. So Tate Moore and I grew up together, and when I got in trouble, I was called John Craig Ford. Well, I could hear that ringing from the graves when you said that. It scared me to death. But I thought, boy, I like her. She's good. So y'all, let me tell you this. I'm going to end with this for Gadsden. I'm going to fight like hell for those men over there. I'm going to fight like hell for our police officers, our firemen, our city employees, and for this town, because that's what the people elected me to do. I'm not going to allow somebody from Cherokee County come in and tell us how to run our city. Joe Taylor said it best, let me run my city, let me and our board run our city.
I believe that's it, ladies and gentlemen, concerning the town hall meeting. I hope that you was able to hear very clearly, gather all the information that was shared. I thought Senator Andrew Jones was going to be here, but at the venue, but he wasn't at the venue. We thank Bishop T for being at the venue and sharing this live feed from the townhouse, at the town hall meeting. We was doing a remote here. We will save our commentary until next week, where we'll have Bishop T with us, and we'll be able to converse with her. And we also will have a good friend, Tamara, with us to spill some tea on next Thursday. So it's a strong possibility Mayor Ford will be with us on next Thursday to share his first 100 days in office. Thank all of you for joining us. We love you. And until next time, you all have a great night.
Thank you.